Two heads, one tail, Yang Yin. Two tails, one head, Yang Yang. Two tails, one head, Yang Yang. Three heads, Old Yang. Two tails, one head, Yang Yang. 2 heads, 1 tail, Young Yin. Our bottom trigram or inner trigram will be read as broken, solid, solid. I believe this is dewy, lake, or marsh. Xun, wind, or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants. Whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance. And so her influence is subtle and gradual, but far-reaching. In the family of trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast and to late spring and early summer. And the top trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as solid, solid, broken. This is the trigram. This has got to be dewy, lake, or marsh. Yep. Dewy, lake, or marsh. Dewy is lake and marsh, abundant energy that teems with life. She is the impulse to communicate, share, and exchange, and delights in both inner and outer conversation. She brings things into circulation and gives them voice. This is the sheer enjoyment of participating in life to the full, expressing ourselves and hearing others, and satisfying our desires. Lake is the youngest daughter, spirit of the fertile west and of autumn. Xun, wind, or wood beneath dewy, lake, or marsh would give us the hexagram 28. Once our fourth line transforms from an old yang to a young yin, that will give us a supporting hexagram with the top trigram of broken, solid, broken. This is Con water. Con is deep water, flowing and formless. He is the complement of Li, which is fire and light, dark where Li is bright, unconscious to her sharp lucidity, and represents a more fluid, intuitive, and emotional way of perceiving. This is danger, exposure, and solitude, and the need to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted by the haunting unknown. Water is the middle sun, situated in the north, associated with midwinter and midnight. Con water above Xun, wind, or wood give us a supporting hexagram of 48. We'll be getting the titles to our hexagrams from I-ming's Taoist I Ching, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adage. It's nice and alchemical in nature. 28. Our primary hexagram he calls excess of the great, following desires, delighting in externals, inability to control strength. And then our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Hexagram 48, he calls the well. Accumulation of effort to cultivate character, nurturance of others. We will start out by reading the commentary by Hilary Barrett called I-ming, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future, which is a nice introductory I-ming commentary. Our primary hexagram 48, Hilary Barrett calls the well. Oh, whoops, 28 is our primary. 28 she calls great exceeding. Key questions. What is overloaded? What have you outgrown? What must you do? Oracle. Great exceeding, the ridgepole warps, fruitful to have a direction to go, creating success. When you exceed something, you cross over a line and make a transition. The traditional Chinese house has a structure like an old-fashioned tent. Uprights support a horizontal ridgepole, and all the weight of roof and walls is suspended from there. Here, the ridgepole's limits have been exceeded. The supporting framework is no longer adequate to the weight it's asked to bear. This means stress, and also a greatness of spirit and purpose that goes beyond the scope of the situation. It is fruitful to have a direction to go, to reach out imaginatively and explore. Since things cannot hold up as they are, there must be movement. Image. The lake submerges the tree, great exceeding. A noble one stands alone without fear, withdraws from the time without sadness. Water should sustain the tree, but an excess will drown it. Interaction and communication should sustain you, but too much will be overwhelming, drowning the natural growth of your spirit in a flood of demands and expectations. You cannot possibly absorb all these demands and preoccupations into your own identity. You would only lose yourself. So a noble one is not afraid to stand alone, nor is she depressed at leaving society behind. She is moved by an inner purpose and not a product of her environment. Sequence. Great exceeding follows from hexagram 27, nourishment. With no nurturance, it is not possible to act, and so great exceeding follows. Great exceeding is the opposite experience to nourishment, imbalance instead of balance, overloading the structure instead of living within it. But to be capable of the dynamic action great exceeding requires, you need to be well nourished. And our supporting hexagram 48, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. Hexagram 48, the well. Key questions. What is the ever-present resource you draw from? What can you do to realize its potential here? Oracle. The well. Moving the city and not moving the well. Without loss, without gain. They come and go, the well wells. Almost drawn the water, but the rope does not quite reach the water, or breaking one's clay jug, pitfall. The people of ancient China would sometimes move a whole city to a more favorable site, and they could take everything with them except the well. You can transplant your center and change everything about your life, except for the source you draw on to sustain it all. You cannot own this source, nor carry it with you. Whenever you move, you will need first of all to dig a new well to reach it. The well itself is utterly dependable. Nothing anyone can do will raise or lower the water level. People and experiences come and go, time passes, the well is always the well and does not change. You need never doubt that you have these resources, or that they are enough. The real question is whether you have the means to reach into such depths and a steady hand to bring the water up into the real world without loss. To fail would be disastrous. The potential in the situation is undeniable, but it may still be a long way from realization. Image. Above the wood is the stream, the well. A noble one toils with the people, encouraging them to help one another. If you could lean over an old Chinese well and look down through the water, you would see a frame of logs at the bottom, used to retain the silty soil as it was dug. The noble one is as committed and involved in the well as the frame itself. Inwardly as responsive as roots, outwardly pouring himself into the work like a flowing stream. The well is a vital shared resource. Everyone must cooperate to build and maintain it. Sequence. The well follows from hexagram 47, confined. Confined in reaching upward naturally means turning inward, and so the well follows. When you cannot reach upward and outward, you turn instead towards an inner source. The clear, life-giving water of the well is only to be found at the bottom of a very deep, dark pit. We will get back to our primary hexagram and read our changing line 4, which puts a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. It takes precedence over all other elements and is the most focused part of our reading. Changing line 4 has its own general context, which is the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. So, changing line 4 of our primary hexagram 28, Great Exceeding. The ridgepole at its peak, good fortune. If there is more, shame. The ridgepole high above holds firm. The supporting framework is reinforced. The situation is at its height. This means all is well, but also means that the greatest height has already been achieved, and all that is sustainable has already been added. Take care that all you do is supportive and nothing adds to the burden. If you heedlessly add more stressors, you bring shame down on yourself. We will next go to I-ming's Taoist I Ching and see what he has to say about our hexagrams and changing line. This is written in 1796 by I-ming as a Taoist adept, and it's nice and alchemical in nature. Hexagram 28, again I-ming calls excess of the great. When the great is excessive, the ridgepole bends. It is good to go somewhere that is developmental. Explanation. Excess of the great means there is an excess of yang energy. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is lake, joyous, and below is wind, entering. Going along with what is inside, delighting in externals, following what one desires. When happiness culminates, it produces grief. In the body of the hexagram, inside are 4 yangs and outside are 2 yins. Yang exceeds yin, and yin does not come up to yang. Therefore, it is called excess of the great. This hexagram represents harmonious blending of the medicinal substances in which fullness requires use of emptiness. It follows on the previous hexagram, nurturance of the great. In nurturance of the great, one is strong, yet can stop and be still. Stilling strength, not letting yang energy get too excessive, is properly the means to nurture strength. In spiritual alchemy, the path of the gold elixir, we take 2 times 8 ounces of the polar energies and congeal them into an embryo. It requires that the great and small be undamaged, and both realms be complete. If yang energy is too strong and yin energy too weak, then yin and yang are not in harmony, and you lose the path of continual renewal. When yin culminates, there will be decay, and when yang culminates, there will be deterioration. Going on in this way, the trouble of the ridgepole bending and breaking is inevitable. When the ridgepole snaps, the whole house falls down. In the same way, practitioners of the Tao who promote yang too much, who do not know when enough is enough, who can be great but cannot be small, suffer damage to their spiritual house. If you can proceed breezily without becoming too intense, being harmonious and easygoing without clinging, mastering the ability to adapt to changes, preventing danger and being aware of perils, then firmness and flexibility will correspond. Yin and yang will balance each other. Though great, you can avoid excess, so that it is beneficial to go somewhere. Consummating essence and perfecting life, you develop without hindrance. Our supporting hexagram 48 puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all, the well. The well, changing the village, not changing the well. No loss, no gain. Those who come and go use the well as a well. If the rope does not reach all the way into the well, or if the bucket breaks, that is unfortunate. Explanation. A well is water with a source which nourishes people inexhaustibly. It has the meaning of nurturance, development. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is water, dangerous, and below is wind, penetrating. Gradually progressing so as to get through danger. Though there is danger, one can get out of it. As wood plunged in water emerges from the water, therefore this hexagram is called the well. This hexagram represents accumulation of effort to cultivate virtue. It follows on the previous hexagram, rising. Rising means harmonious progress and practice, a way to increase spiritual virtue. When spiritual virtue increases and one has accordingly advanced to the state where there is no difficulty or danger, the basis is firm and stable. Free from danger oneself, one can then resolve others' problems. With this, one accumulates achievement and cultivates virtue. Using what one has developed oneself to nurture others' development. Genuine within, this genuineness reaches out, so there is benefit to others and no harm to self. This is like a well. Changing the village doesn't change the well. No loss, no gain. Passers-by use the well as a well. When the self-development of practitioners of Tao is sufficient, this is like a well having water in it. To develop others after having developed oneself is like changing the village. To develop others by one's own development is like not changing the well. Development of others must be based on self-development. As is self-development, so is development of others. This is like a well having no loss, no gain. Developing others by self-development, others and self are both nurtured. This is like those who come and go, using the well as a well. If one insists on trying to teach people before one has attained the Tao oneself, this is called lacking the basis. Development without the basis lacks inward mastery. Arbitrarily used, it creates confusion, and without having helped anyone else, one first loses oneself. This is like trying to get water from a well, but the rope does not reach all the way, or the well water breaks the bucket. One brings misfortune on oneself. This is because the business of guiding others comes after the completion of the great path. When the path is completed, mind and body are autonomous, based on previous realization to enlighten others. One can thus benefit others and not harm oneself. Therefore, the main theme in each of the 6 lines is self-development. We will now get back to our primary hexagram 28, great exceeding, and read our changing line 4, which puts a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself, takes precedence over all other elements, and is the most focused part of the reading. Changing line 4 has the general context, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. We had 29 yesterday, mastering pitfalls. 28, excess of the great, changing line 4. The ridgepole is raised, good fortune. There is another shame. Explanation. Great, yet able to be small, the mind equanimous, the energy harmonious. This is like the ridgepole being raised and not crumbling. Action meets with good fortune. When practice of Tao reaches the point of greatness capable of smallness, this is already the joining of yin and yang. One should not be too yielding anymore, because if yielding is excessive, it will damage firmness, and the great path will be impossible to complete. One will become a laughing stock and only reap shame. This is firmness using flexibility appropriately and not excessively. We will also take a look at the back in the commentary section for each of our hexagrams, which can often be a little bit more alchemical-like in nature. Hexagram 28, yeah, that was our changing line. Lake above, wind below. Moisture destroys wood in excess. Thus, superior people stand alone without fear and leave society without distress. Great excess is excess of the great. Above is lake, associated with moisture. Below is wind, associated with wood. The nature of water is to flow downward. The nature of wood is to float upward. When water rises above wood, it can destroy wood. And when wood descends below water, it can be destroyed by the moisture. This is the image of great excess. What superior people see in this is that just as a great excess of moisture can destroy wood, so can a great excess of talent and intelligence in people destroy their character. Therefore, they take the model of water rising above wood in the sense of standing alone without fear, and take the model of wood descending below water in the sense of concealing themselves and being free from distress. Thus, they accomplish the will of the person of exceeding greatness and perfect the character of a person of exceeding greatness. Because superior people who practice the Tao consider nature and life to be the most important matter, they look down upon all existence as empty of absoluteness, being like a clear lake, unsullied by the dust of objects. They make use of the phenomena of the world to practice the principles of the Tao, playing a unique tune on an individual harp. Unmoved by the prospects of life or death, they stand aloof of all things without fear. Like the flexibility of wood, they have talent but do not presume upon it. They have intelligence but do not rely on it. Though simple in appearance, they hold a treasure. Concealing their illumination and nurturing it in obscurity, they do not seek to be known to others. They are hidden in a profound privacy and have no distress. Having no fear means that one cannot be considered by things, having will and energy far beyond that of others. Constrained by things. Having no fear means that one cannot be constrained by things, having will and energy far beyond that of others. Having no distress means that errant thoughts do not arise, and one has cultivated development far beyond that of others. Because of having no fear and no distress, one can accomplish that which is rare in the world, and be beyond the perception and beyond the reach of ordinary people. And our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. 48, the well. The well, water above, wind below. There is water above wood, a well. Thus do superior people comfort the people and urge reciprocity. The well has the meaning of nourishing people. Above is water, below is wind, associated with wood. There is water above wood. When water rises above wood, the wood is moistened and becomes pliable, being nurtured by the water. This is the image of the well. What superior people see in this is that the people must be nourished, and when they are nourished, they must be educated. Therefore, they teach them to work so as to have plenty of food and warm clothing, so as to nourish their bodies, and teach them to know courtesy and understand duty, to get along in harmony and help each other, so as to nourish their minds. When body and mind are both nourished, people return to pristine simplicity and purity, forget their travail, become unified, and enter the realm of unconscious obedience to the laws of God. The human body is the country, the human spirit is the people. To order the spirit and carry out the Tao day and night is to comfort the people, to take to good, correct faults, get rid of falsehood and keep truth, combine vitality, energy, and spirit, and join the earthly to the celestial. This is urging reciprocity. This kind of comfort is that whereby one forgets falsehood. This kind of urging is that whereby one cultivates reality. When falsehood leaves and reality remains, the path of nourishment is consummated. We will next take a look at what James Dekorne in his Gnostic Book of Changes has to say. That is a synthesis of several I Ching commentaries with his own helpful editor's notes, dispersed without, that's what I was going to say. And he quotes things like the Kabbalah in here. He is a practitioner of the Tao himself, if I didn't say that. Hexagram 28, a primary hexagram he calls critical mass. Other titles might be preponderance of the great, the symbol of great passing, excess, great excess, the passing of greatness, great surpassing, great gains, experience, greater than great, greatness in excess, dominance by the mighty, the passing of greatness, excess of the great, and law of karma, judgment. Thank you. Leg. Critical mass depicts a weak beam. Under such conditions, it is advantageous to move in any direction whatever. Success is indicated. Wilhelm Bain's preponderance of the great. The ridgepole sags to the breaking point. It furthers one to have somewhere to go. Success. Blofeld. Excess. The ridgepole sags. It is favorable to have some goal or destination in view. Success. A glance at the hexagram will show that it is too heavy in the middle and too weak at the ends. A number of firm lines is generally auspicious, but there can be too much of a good thing. Karcher, great exceeding. The ridgepole sagging, harvesting, possessing, directed going, growing. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of your connection to a ruling principle. It emphasizes that pushing the guiding idea beyond ordinary limits and accepting the results is the adequate way to handle it. Cleary 1. When the great is excessive, the ridgepole bends. It is good to go somewhere. That is developmental. When the ridgepole snaps, the whole house falls down. In the same way, practitioners of the Tao who promote yang too much, who do not know when enough is enough, who can be great but cannot be small, suffer damage to their spiritual house. The image, leg. The image of trees beneath a marsh forms critical mass. The superior man, in accordance with this, fearlessly stands alone and stays retired from the world without regret. Wilhelm/Baines. The lake rises above the trees, the image of preponderance of the great. Thus, the superior man, when he stands alone, is unconcerned, and if he has to renounce the world, he is undaunted. Blowfold. This hexagram symbolizes a forest submerged in a great body of water. The superior man, though standing alone, is free from fear. He feels no discontent in withdrawing from the world. This is suggested by the component trigrams. Water is necessary for the nourishment of the trees, but too much of it can cause serious damage. Cleary 2. Moisture destroys wood, developed people, etc. Only when sustained by the power to stand alone without fear and avoid society without distress can learning be firmly rooted and development have a proper basis. Then it is possible to refine and support the mediocre. Confucian commentary. Confucius/Leg. Excess is weakly supported at either end, with weakness in both the lowest and topmost lines. The dynamic lines are in excess, but two of them are in the central positions. The trigrams of flexibility and satisfaction indicate that there will be advantage in moving in any direction whatever. There will be success. Great indeed is the work to be done during this extraordinary time. Leg. Extraordinary times require extraordinary skill in their management. The figure shows two magnetic lines at top and bottom, with four dynamic lines between them, giving the image of a great beam unable to sustain its own weight. Lines 2 and 5 are both dynamic and central, however, and from this and the attributes of the component trigrams, a good auspice is obtained. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. A stressful situation is best managed with a comprehensive strategy, or, in the chess game of life, one succeeds by planning several moves in advance. The superior man serves the work by going his own way, regardless of public opinion. Wilhelm titles this hexagram Preponderance of the Great. I prefer R.L. Wing's paraphrase of critical mass as more evocative of the figure's meaning in modern terminology. In critical mass, four dynamic lines lurk inside of the hexagram, weakly contained at top and bottom by two magnetic lines. This energetic concentration could explode in an unpredictable release of force, and hence the judgment tells us to move now. Remember, non-action is also action, to avoid unwanted consequences. Often the outcome is predictable. Be prepared to just walk away if and when that is your best move. Leg's translation of the judgment is, it is advantageous to move in any direction whatever. This is a different message than Wilhelm's. It furthers one to have somewhere to go. Leg's version implies an almost hysterical flight from danger, while Wilhelm's rendition suggests prior intention and planning. The latter interpretation is definitely what is meant here, as confirmed by Cleary's Buddhist commentary. When the transformative path is flourishing, contaminations easily arise. It is best to set up guidelines and regulations. When meditation work is advanced, ignorance is about to dissolve. It is best to exercise the mind skillfully. Coupled with Cleary's translation of the image as developed people stand alone without fear, avoid society without distress, the idea is that one should follow one's best intuition and ignore popular illusions, political correctness, or inner fears. Psychologically, conventional thinking, socially conditioned reflexes and knee-jerk responses, etc. During a time of critical mass, pay close attention to direction from the self to preserve the work. This is not the time to follow the crowd. Sometimes this can mean that you are obliged to go it alone, one of the work's frequent tests. A quote from G. Knight in A Practical Guide to Kabbalistic Symbolism. The gulf is something that has to be leaped, and leaped alone, stripped of all hindering burdens in faith. It is thus one of the crisis points of spiritual progress because of the great temptation to turn back from the unknown to the apparent safety of known things. And to succumb to this temptation is to lose all the fruits of past endeavor. Suggestions for meditation. Compare the judgment and image of this hexagram with those of hexagram number 32, consistency. Anthony. We must regain modesty through the effort to rid ourselves of strong elements that cause us to press forward. The strong elements may exist in someone else, causing them to assault us with their fear, mistrust, or doubt. Strong refers to impetuous movement to resolve what is ambiguous. We can meet the challenge by remaining detached and letting things go through their changes. To be truly rich is to remain modest. To be truly powerful is to remain reticent. And our supporting hexagram, which puts our primary hexagram in a broader context and influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all, the well. Other titles might be welling, potentialities fulfilled, the source, the deep psyche. A quote from D.F. Hook, a resurrection or transformation, generations coming and going, and the continuance of life and development. Judgment. Leg. Although a town site may be altered, the well remains the same. Its water level neither disappears nor receives any great increase, and the people can draw from it freely. Misfortune ensues if the rope breaks or the bucket is broken before it reaches the water. Blowfold. The well. A city may be moved, but not a well. The building of a city depends upon ourselves, but wells cannot be moved to places where nature supplies no water. The implication is that our activities are limited by natural conditions. A well suffers from no decrease and no increase, but often, when the people come to draw water there, the rope is too short or the pitcher gets broken before reaching the water. Misfortune. What we desire is there for the taking, but we may not succeed in getting it. Lu. The well. The city might be moved, but not the well. It neither overflows nor runs dry. People come and go, drawing from the well. The rope nearly reaches the water, but not quite. The jug breaks. Misfortune. Ritzema/Karcher. The well. Amending the capital, not amending the well. Without losing, without acquiring, going, coming, welling, muddy culmination, truly not yet the well rope, well. Ruining one's pitcher, pitfall. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of the life water coming from the depths that everyone may draw on. It emphasizes that maintaining access to this central source is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to go to the well. The image. Leg. The image of the water over wood forms the well. The superior man comforts the people and stimulates their mutual cooperation. Wu. There is water above wood. This is the well. Thus, the Chunsi, or chief son or superior person, encourages people to work for the good of the public and to help one another for a better life. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. Wood penetrates the water and raises it, giving the image of the well, which gives nourishment yet is not exhausted. The dynamic central lines in the second and fifth places indicate that the town site may change, but the well does not. If the rope does not reach the water, the well does not serve its purpose. A broken bucket brings about evil. Leg. The upper trigram represents water and the lower symbolizes wood, giving the image of a wooden bucket in the water of a well. What is said on this hexagram might be styled lessons to be learned from a well for the proper government of a country. A well is to its users what a government is to its subjects, and if rulers would only apply the ancient precepts of government to the present circumstances, they and their people would benefit greatly. In the judgment, we see the well remaining substantially the same through many changes of society, a dependable source of refreshment to its users. As the fashion of the well remains changeless, so do the principles of human nature and good government. The value of the well depends upon the water being drawn up and used, and so must the principles of good government be implemented. Anthony. This hexagram usually indicates that we have a hidden doubt or fear. We may secretly disbelieve our path. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Amid the changes of life, the only constant is the psyche itself. To be alive is to draw upon its energy. The ego's challenge lies in the correct comprehension of its images. The superior man promotes the harmonious interplay of his thoughts and feelings, works on the integration of his complexes. A well is a universal symbol of a source of inner truth and is often associated with a place that is sacred to the gods. A quote from Genesis 26:25. There he built an altar and invoked the name of Yahweh. There he pitched his tent, and there Isaac's servants sank a well. A quote from Cardinal Nicholas of Cusa. From the first well, which is of animal nature and deep, the father drinks together with his children and cattle. From the second, which is yet deeper and on the very margin of nature, there drink only the children of men, namely those whose reason has awakened and whom we call philosophers. From the third, the deepest of all, drink the sons of the All-Highest, whom we call gods and true theologians. Psychologically interpreted, a well symbolizes the continuously flowing unconscious psyche, the fountain of all awareness. In this hexagram, each line represents a level within the well, by extension suggesting a hierarchy of value in the unconscious. It is important to remember that not all of our inner images, intuitions, or impulses come from the self. Note that lines 1 through 4 all show the water of the well not being utilized for one reason or another. Only in lines 3, 5, and 6 is it actually available for use. A quote from Roberto Osseagoli in Psychosynthesis. In some sensitive individuals, there is an awakening of parapsychological perceptions. They have visions, which they believe to be of exalted beings. They may hear voices or begin to write automatically, accepting the messages at their face value and obeying them unreservedly. The quality of such messages is very varied. Sometimes they contain fine teachings, but they should always be examined with much discrimination and sound judgment, and without being influenced by their uncommon origin or by any claim by their alleged transmitter. No validity should be attributed to messages containing definite orders and commanding blind obedience, and to those tending to exalt the personality of the recipient. The ego's point of view in relation to the well is from the outside looking in. The insights emerge from beneath the surface of awareness and can be held in the light of consciousness only if one's comprehension is able to contain them. If the bucket breaks, our understanding is unequal to our observation and the insights are lost. One might plausibly find the image for a cancer cure within one's psyche, but without a conscious frame of reference to acknowledge it, it would be unrecognized and lost. Those who closely monitor their dreams know that there is an endless outpouring of strange images within the psyche which might be of inestimable value if only we knew what they referred to. Wilhelm emphasizes the idea of nourishing the people, which psychologically means that the role of the ego is to facilitate the cooperation of intrapsychic forces. Another quote from Roberto Osseagoli in Psychosynthesis. The solution lies, rather, along the lines of a harmonious integration of all drives into the total personality. First through the proper subordination and coordination, and then through the transformation and sublimation of the excessive or unused quota of energy. We'll go back and read our changing line 4 in our primary hexagram 28, great exceeding, or critical mass, as James Dekorne calls it. It puts a pin in the map, puts our primary hexagram in a, it is the changing line, so it does put a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. Takes precedence over all other elements and is the most focused part of the reading. Changing line 4 has the general context, the capacity for action, asking how the work can be done. Changing line 4 of our primary hexagram 28, critical mass, or excess of the great. Leg. The fourth line dynamic shows a beam curving upwards. There will be good fortune. If the subject of the line looks for for other help, but that of line 1, there will be cause for regret. Ritsuma/Karcher, the ridgepole crowning, significant, possessing more, abashment. Wu, the beam is held upright, and there will be good fortune. There may be humiliation in unexpected situations. Confucian commentary, Confucius/Leg. The good fortune arises because it does not bend toward what is below. Wilhelm/Baines, it does not sag downward and break. Blofeld, good fortune in the sense that it does not fall. This would seem to be good fortune of a negative kind, not so much good fortune as the failure of expected bad fortune to materialize. Ritsuma/Karcher, not sagging, reaching to the below indeed. Cleary 2, it does not bend down. Wu, the beam is held upright, not warping downward. Leg, line 4 is just below the 5th line ruler. His duty is to meet the extraordinary exigency of the time. Although dynamic, he is in a magnetic place and his strength is tempered. He will be equal to his task. Should he seek help from line 1, that would affect him with another element of weakness, and his action would give cause for regret. Notes and paraphrases. Su. The man becomes the master of the difficult situation by refusing the assistance of weak men. He relies on his own strength of character. Wing. You can now find within yourself the strength and vision to achieve a successful outcome in your endeavors. Do not rely upon people or things outside of yourself, higher self, capitalized, for guidance. Dependence now on external things leads to humiliation. Editor. This is one of those maddening lines of which every translator renders a subtly different version. Some aren't even internally consistent. Legg's translation says there will be cause for regret if the subject looks for other help but that of line 1, which I take to mean only line 1 is the proper source of assistance. Inexplicably, his exposition then cautions against such assistance, as does his Confucian commentary. Blofeld's version is a tautology, effectively removing serious warning from the line. The Wilhelm and Lu translations are least confusing and imply that we are protected as long as we suppress our lower impulses and maintain allegiance to a higher principle. In my experience, this interpretation has been most accurate. Which I'm going to read that again because that's important. The Wilhelm and Lu translations are least confusing and imply that we are protected as long as we suppress our lower impulses and maintain allegiance to a higher principle. A quote from Jung in Psychology and Alchemy. The patient must be alone if he is to find out what it is that supports him when he can no longer support himself. Only this experience can give him an indestructible foundation. James Dekorne breaks changing line 4 down into one possible succinct definition. The work is protected if you keep the faith. We will now get a randomly card drawn verse from the Tao Te Ching while I try and sum this up. Our primary hexagram 28, excess of the great, has a house where the ridgepole is bending and is looking like it will snap, in which case the entire house comes falling down. And it is essentially because of that, it says that it's beneficial to go somewhere. So, and some of the commentators say that basically like flee from danger, you have to leave now. It means it's beneficial to go anywhere is what they say. And then others say that, you know, it's beneficial to go somewhere, but with less urgency. Then we get to our supporting hexagram 48, the well. And you can change the city, but you can't change the well. You can take everything with you, but the well remains the same. And basically, with everything changing, it's important to be able to know what nourishes you and where to find that. And if everything in your life changed, what could you reach within yourself to access that would give you the strength and nourishment necessary to weather whatever comes your way. Almost as if you're reaching for the center of, or the hole within a wheel where everything else is changing, or like in the Wheel of Fortune card in the tarot, where it's constantly, turning. What can you reach for that doesn't turn and remains the same, that can be a source of nourishment for you? The changing line 4, which puts a pin in the map to say you are here, or at least here are some places that you may find yourself, takes precedence over all other elements and is the most focused part of the reading for our primary hexagram 28, Excess of the Great. Shows that the ridge pole is not bending downward, and so it will stay, which is auspicious, and yet some say that it's not necessarily auspicious. It just means that what could potentially have gone wrong isn't going wrong, and that the house isn't collapsing, which in my opinion is, auspicious. So, do you want to take a look here again at James Dekorne's synopsis of it? He says, the work is protected if you keep the faith. And what's interesting is the quote from Jung right above that almost talks about like a well situation as well, even though this is in great exceeding, or critical mass, like James Dekorne calls it. It's a quote from Psychology and Alchemy from Jung. The patient must be alone if he is to find out what it is that supports him when he can no longer support himself. Only this experience can give him an indestructible foundation. Yeah, I suppose with the feeling of things, maybe society even collapsing around us, and the idea of things that you can trust not really being as much trustable as you expected, it's important to be able to find some sort of source of stability, nourishment, like a well might provide. And in this case, it doesn't seem like there will be collapse, hopefully, and that we are to keep the faith and reach down and grab on to that which does not change, to follow us and help us, lead us, keep us secure through change. And to know that the changeless is something that, in theory could kind of be like an anchor, the self, or that concept, the Tao, right? So let's get a verse from the Tao Te Ching, if we can. At this stage, I could probably just 2:45 and 33. And my copy of the Tao Te Ching is translated by Jia Fu Feng and Jane English. 33. Knowing others is wisdom. Knowing the self is enlightenment. Mastering others requires force. Mastering the self needs strength. He who knows he has enough is rich. Perseverance is a sign of willpower. He who stays where he is endures. To die but not to perish is to be eternally present. And verse 45. Great accomplishment seems imperfect, yet it does not outlive its usefulness. Great fullness seems empty, yet it cannot be exhausted. Great straightness seems twisted. Great intelligence seems stupid. Great eloquence seems awkward. Movement overcomes cold. Stillness overcomes heat. Stillness and tranquility set things in order in the universe.